Hey YouTube friends, welcome to Southwest Homestead. This week I'm going to show you step by step how to pressure can carrots. I ordered 25 pounds of organic carrots from Azure Standard and I pressure canned them this week. 25 pounds of carrots yields about 18 quart jars and they're wonderful to have on the shelf. I throw them into soups, stews. Sometimes I'll make a maple glaze and bake them in the oven for a side dish. But carrots like this are just a simple, cheap food basic staple that I like to have on hand. Last year I did 50 pounds of organic carrots and it took me about 4 or 5 days to process all of those carrots. I will never do that again. It was way too much work. 25 pounds was manageable. It took me a couple of days because I didn't go at it full force. I peeled and chopped one night and then I jarred and canned the next day. So that's what I'm going to show you today. One thing that I left out of the video that I want to make sure that I cover is before I put this lid on my jar, I wiped the rim of my jar clean with a damp paper towel. I could use a damp cloth or a paper towel, or I could dip my cloth or paper towel in vinegar. I only used water because carrots are relatively clean and there was really nothing on the top of the jars, but you want to make sure that you clean the rim of your jar before you put this lid on because you want that seal to seal right to the jar. You don't want anything between the seal and the top of your jar. So if I were processing beef, for example, stew beef, I would make sure that I well cleaned the rim of my jar with a paper towel or a cloth dipped in vinegar because vinegar will cut through any grease that might be there so that I get a good solid seal on the top of my jar. Now I've already taken all the bands off of the top of my jars. I'll show in the video when I added the bands, but I always store my jars with the band taken off. If one of my lids were to fail, if my seal were to fail, I want to be able to notice it right away. I want to be able to pick up my jar of carrots like this, and if it were not a good seal, this would fall. And I would know that that was not a good seal. I would throw those carrots away. That happens very rarely. If you use proper canning technique and you take your time and you do everything with clean sterile jars and clean food handling processes, you're never going to have to worry about hurting your family with food that is not good. Cases of botulism in the United States are very rare and they actually happen more commonly with commercially processed foods. While I had my canner full of water, I also processed 8 quarts of black beans. I like to have black beans on hand for burritos, refried beans. I throw those in soups and stews as well. Sometimes I just serve a simple rice and beans for dinner. If I'm tired and I don't want to spend a lot of time in the kitchen, we'll do rice and beans for dinner. There is nothing wrong with that. You can season it however you want and make it a delicious meal. Another thing I did this week is I dehydrated 10 pounds of blood oranges. Now I've already started putting some of these in the jar, so my trays are not completely full, but it took about 3 days at 110 degrees in my dehydrator to get these completely dry. You want your blood orange or your any kind of dehydrated food to snap apart easily. That way you know it's completely dry. You never want any moisture to go in your jars because you could grow mold. So I will store these in jars. I might vacuum seal it if I feel like I need to. I will use these all spring and summer. I'll probably do some lemons and some limes as well. And I'll throw them into iced teas, lemonade. I could even do a sangria. So it's a fun way to have some fresh fruit on hand to give your drinks a little bit more flavor. If I needed some lemon zest or orange zest in a recipe, I could grind up some of this rind and I'd have the zest that I need on hand. So that's a fun project, an easy project. You do not have to have a dehydrator to dehydrate things. You can do them in your oven at a very, very low temperature overnight. You can even put things on a screen, a tray, and leave them in your car in the hot sun. They will dehydrate that way. If you have 2 clean screens you could put the food between, you could set it outside in the sun. But anyway, I have a dehydrator from Cabela's that I love and I use it all the time for dehydrating. I dehydrate sometimes frozen vegetables like mixed vegetables. I like to have jars of mixed vegetables dehydrated that I can throw into soups and stews. I make a lot of soup here. I bought some organic sweet potatoes from Azure Standard that I'm hoping to grow sweet potato slips from. I'll plant those late spring, early summer, and wish me luck, because sometimes I have great luck growing slips and other times the bottom of my potato gets mushy and it stinks. I clean my water often. I don't know what I actually have done wrong. Some years I'm very successful and others I'm not so successful. Lastly, my day off projects are going to include slicing up some organic yellow onions. I'm going to put them in my big roasting pan. I'll probably put 2 or 3 sticks of butter in there, and I will just cook these down at a low heat until they caramelize, till they turn a nice golden brown. And then I will pressure can them in probably half-pint jars, and I'll have those on my shelf, and I can put them on hamburgers, I can put them in stews, I can use them any way I would use onions, potato salad, things like that. But I love having caramelized onions on hand. I encourage you to learn how to preserve food in any way that you can. These days with inflation, prices rising, you have to maximize your food budget. I don't know how young families are doing it. I encourage you to look for ways to stretch a dollar, learn to eat basic, simple foods, to keep a well-stocked pantry, shop the sales, buy things when they're at their lowest price. There are all kinds of websites online that will tell you when certain items go on sale. For example, if you know your family eats a lot of rice, you can look on these websites and you can find when is the best time of year to buy rice, when is the best time of year to buy beans, when is the best time of year to buy fresh oranges. You'll find the answer to those questions, and then you can go shopping, stock up at the lowest prices, and maximize your food dollar. I hope this helps somebody out there. If you have any questions, I encourage you to send me a message in the comments or send me an email. I love answering homesteading questions. I love teaching new people how to preserve food, how to garden, how to live the homestead life. Thank you for visiting Southwest Homestead.